Hello everyone. Today I'm flying solo. No one actually tells you how hard it is to consistently maintain a weekly video podcast when you also have a full-time job. I'm actually a headhunter, if you didn't know. Today, I want to share with you 10 steps to hiring high-performing teams. Apart from step number 1, without which you won't get anywhere, the most undervalued steps, I think, are 6, 8, and 9. So keep watching. So what do you think is the most important aspect of hiring rockstar teams? Leave a comment down below. So why is it important to hire the right people? Why do you need to have a great team? I mean, without people, you simply don't have a business. Your success, your growth, culture is all determined by who's leading your business at every level. One of the CEOs on the show told me that he used to think that sales was the most important function, but that he couldn't be any further from the truth. It's the entire team. You're only as strong as your weakest link. At every level, you need to get the right people. Every entrepreneur will tell you that the hardest part of running a business is finding the right people. It's the hardest and most important. You get one person wrong and the rest of your business suffers. Apart from wasting your energy, resources, time, the cost and the loss of productivity and the low morale is going to be draining for your business. So you have to make sure that excellency is maintained at every level and function. So what can you do to hire the best people? Here are the 10 steps to get hiring top talent right. So number 1 is self-awareness. Without a shadow of a doubt, this is the most important step of all. If you don't get this right, nothing you do will go right. So especially for founders who are building their founding teams, self-awareness is absolutely key. You need to know what you're good at and what you're not good at. You need to hire rock stars, people who are better than you, people who will complement you and who plug the gap in the skills that you don't have. For a lean team, especially in startups, you might not want to duplicate your strengths. So that's the reason why you need to know what you're good at and what you're not good at. And also be aware of your values. Who are you? What's important to you? If you don't know this, you won't know what to look for in the people that you meet and the candidates you interview. Number 2, clarify your vision and culture. What is your why? What is the purpose of your business? What problem are you trying to solve? What is your big picture, blue sky vision? What culture do you want to create? Ask yourself these questions and write them all down. Side note on culture. Tracy Brower, who I recently spoke to, said culture is determined by the worst behavior it tolerates, and behavior being the operative word here. Whilst it's important to define and write down your values and culture, it's ultimately not what you say, but what you do that matters. And it's not just your behavior, but the behavior of everyone that you hire that will shape the culture of your business, particularly your senior leaders. So get clarity on your values, get clarity on your culture, define it, write it down, and then demonstrate it by your actions. Number 3, define what success looks like. Have you ever heard someone say, I don't know what I want, but I do know what I don't want? There's actually more words in the English language to describe failure than success. And coupled with the fact that our brain is wired towards attention to the negative rather than the positive, defining success is actually a lot harder than we think. And it's harder than defining failure. And this is probably why we don't do it as often as we really need to. So define what success will look like for your business. Is it being the number 1 in your market? Is it being profitable? Is it the pace of growth? Expanding in another country? Or is it how much control over decision-making the founders or senior management have over the company? Or is it serving community, saving the world, creating work-life fulfillment for every employee? What does success look like to you? Number 4, define who you need in the business and what will make them successful. Once you know what you're seeking to achieve with your business, you can now start to define who you need in your business and what they will need to have in order to be successful. What skills, qualifications, or qualities do they need to achieve this success? Define the hard skills. So it's things that the candidate will either have or not have, such as marketing, operations, working with Excel, Photoshop, or whatever. And then define the soft skills and attitudes, such as how someone handles creative differences, uncertainty, working with limited resources, how hard they push an innovative idea, communication, persuasion, resilience. According to a trend report by LinkedIn in 2019, 89% of talent acquisition professionals said that when a new hire doesn't work out, it's actually because they lacked critical soft skills. Soft skills are less concrete, but the backbone of recruiting the best people. Turn these requirements for success into measurable objectives. So create performance profiles. List the performance that you need to have in your profile, and this will help you to be more objective, and more on that later. You can create a score sheet for each role with the criteria, which includes the hard and the soft skills, mindset, and other criteria such as motivation, enthusiasm, relocation, salary, and so on. So you know who you are, what your business is about, and what successful candidates possess. Next step will be to start looking for them, right? Actually, there's one more step here. Number 5, get all important stakeholders on board. Well, let's face it, it's lonely at the top. And making decisions on your own leaves a lot of blind spots. Get all of the stakeholders on board, your advisors, chairs, founding members, senior leadership team, everyone that has an opinion about and interest in who gets hired. And if you're the only founder, get some advisors. Just get another perspective. What's important here is to make sure that everyone involved in the hiring process is singing from the same sheet. On my side, there's actually nothing more frustrating than presenting a candidate who fits most of the criteria from the initial brief, only to be told that one more person will interview them at the very last minute, and they have an entirely different perspective of what they think the business needs. I always ask who the stakeholders, the decision makers are, but I still sometimes get a curveball when a new decision maker is introduced halfway through the process. I tell you, it's better to have a heated debate at the beginning about who needs to be hired, rather than waste a lot of valuable time looking for and interviewing people who your advisor or your chair will just says misses certain qualities. Don't be afraid of these creative disagreements and tension. This can actually be good to define exactly who you need. So, on to step number 6. Standardize your recruitment process and beware of your unconscious bias. You've got everyone on board. You've put the sound outside of your door saying hiring. You've put an advert on LinkedIn, asked family and friends for recommendations, or heaven forbid that you even hired a headhunter. The candidates are pouring in, and now you need to interview them. Use the objective criteria and the scorecards that you created in step number 4 to structure your questions so you cover every aspect. Use behavioral questions. For example, if you're looking for resilience, you can ask, tell me of a time when a project was failing and you went above and beyond for this client. Or if you're looking for somebody who can handle difficult people, what about, can you describe a time when you had to work with someone who was difficult to get on with? How did you interact with this person? Ask the same question to each candidate and rate each person on each criteria 1 to 10. If all scores are below 7, you might need to expand your search. Get all your criteria as close to 9 as possible. So a side note on listening and assessing. Be aware that you have unconscious biases. We all tend to think more favorably of a person that we like. Maybe you share a postcode, or you went to the same university, or your kids are born on the same day. We're wired to like similarity, but that doesn't mean the person fits your objective criteria. So if you immediately like someone, you might not ask them difficult questions or assume they can easily learn the skills that they don't have. And the reverse, if you don't like a candidate, you might be looking for evidence that they're not right, and you might be asking more challenging questions without realizing. Usually, I try to speak with a candidate several times and on different days, and this is to avoid making an assumption about them because of my mood or even their mood. So invest time to learn how to conduct behavioral interviews. You'll be spending a lot of time hiring, so you should get exceptionally good at it and train your team. Number 7, compromise on skills, but not on culture fit. What I mean by that is that don't hire a marketing director when you need an operations director. Remember that quote from Simon Sinek: you don't hire for skills, you hire for attitude. You can always teach skills. Skills can absolutely be taught, but changing a person's attitude is extremely difficult. This is why spending time defining culture and values, as well as using behavioral questions, is so important. Number 8, get the candidate to say yes to the offer. So if you've interviewed all the candidates, you think you found the one, you're ready to make an offer, great. Now you'll see how the tables have turned. One thing companies very often forget is that candidates are also buyers, and candidates make judgments about you throughout the entire process. When you're interviewing a candidate, it's tempting to think that you're the buyer and they're the seller. And to some extent, this is true at that point. But everything you say and everything you do during the interview will stay with the candidate. But more than that, how any person from your team interacts with them over email or in person, whether it's scheduling interviews or even saying hello, how you give feedback, or worse if you don't. Every small interaction will be used to make an assessment of you. So be careful who arranges the interviews. Like life, it's all of the small moments that make the biggest difference. When you're ready to make an offer, most of your selling would have been done already. When you make an offer, most of your selling would have been done already. So make sure before this moment that you explain your blue sky vision in a crystal clear way. What's the environment? What's the future of the business? What's the growth in the role? Make sure you sell your business throughout the process in what you say and in what you do. At Netflix, there was this rule that if people saw a stranger waiting for an interview, employees would go up to them and talk to them to help find the person who is supposed to be interviewing them. And the goal was to have every single person have such an amazing experience that they just wanted to have the job. They even said that even if this person isn't the right fit, we might love his next door neighbor. Making a positive impression at every stage from everyone in the company is how you get rock stars into your business. This is the difference between recruiting and attracting. Work on becoming a better catch. And one more point to make here is, in a competitive market, job acceptances are 70%, which means 30% of the time it's a no. So what do you do if the candidate says no? Well, for a start, don't take the first no for an answer. Try to understand what it takes to get to the yes, and have this conversation several times before you even make the offer. At each stage during interviews, I get feedback from the candidates. I talk about their expectations, what they're looking for. And to some extent, it's easier to do that when you're a third independent party rather than the company who's making the offer. But you can still ask these questions pretty much at any stage. Like, what does it take for you to say yes to this offer? Number 9, future-proof your talent pool. For a start, hire people with potential to grow rather than just for the here and now. Farfetch have a very good process for long-term hiring. They assess candidate based on 3 criteria: good for culture, good for role, and good for growth. So don't neglect that. Hiring really good people is really, really hard. So it's very tempting to stop recruiting when all of the immediate roles are filled. But hiring shouldn't be a last-minute necessity, and it should be a constant effort. You need to build your talent pool for the future. The best companies continuously develop strategies to identify and map talent, and some take it one step further and maintain relationships with them. A sports lifestyle company I used to work with created not only a database of talented people, but also a newsletter that they sent out to the pool to keep them informed about what was going on in the business. So when they were actively recruiting, they already had an established relationship with these candidates who kept them top of their mind. So it was just much easier to headhunt them. Number 10. Take care of your people. This has to be the most obvious of them all. Once you find your people, you have to take care of them. If people don't stay, you won't be able to grow your business. Not only will you need to replace them, but people talk, especially now in the social media age. News of toxic cultures spread extremely fast. Talented people won't want to touch you, especially now in the age of the great resignation. The war for talent is real, and talent is much more selective than ever. So take care of your people, because they will take care of your customers, growth, and if you're lucky, they'll talk about you to their neighbor who might just be your next rockstar candidate. So what did I miss in these 10 steps to hiring high-performing teams? Comment down below. Thank you so much for joining us here on Anatomy of a Leader. I hope our guest leadership journeys resonate with you and make you feel like you too can take on the world. Please subscribe so you can be alerted when new episodes are released. Comment, like, tell a friend, share on social media. I'll make sure to support you there as well. And let me know what inspired you, the changes that you've made, and how you too succeeded against all odds. You can find me on Instagram and LinkedIn with the handle MariaHVO, or just search for my very long surname. And if you're hiring leaders to take your business to the next level, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Again, that long surname. Thank you again for being here on Anatomy of a Leader. Bye for now.